Welcome back to another Pokemon What If Wednesday, where every Wednesday morning we go through last week's investing and collecting questions, where your guys' questions will actually be featured in the video, and one person's question will help me make the thumbnail every single week. So please drop your questions down below for a chance to be in next week's video, and if I did comment to you saying great question, I might use this and I didn't, please drop that same question again and then put repeat question, it'll get moved to the top. And I'm not saying I'm some guru who just knows everything, but when I'm unsure, I always like to talk it out with a few people. It always helps me make my final decision, and I have been in the hobby since it started and I've never left, so I've been here for a long time. And we do have to give a quick thanks to our video sponsor real quick, and that is Metatcg. I did all the research and I found us the best possible website for you guys to sell your bulk or trade it in for some super rare cards, or in person. They are located in Arlington, Texas. They do have to be near mint, Pokemon, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh! And it is so easy to fill out the Pokemon bulk submission. You just put exactly how many cards you have. They even have a video showing you how to package everything. So, don't let that bulk just sit there. You might as well trade it in and get some cards that you're actually excited about. And of course, if you're going to go through PSA for your first time, click my link in the description. Use code BEARD25 and get $25 off. And if you want to try out tag rating, click my link in the description. Use code BEARD10 and you'll get 10% off your first submission. And I will be vending this weekend in Denver at Trading Card Con with Coop and Beardad and a ton of other PokeTubers. If you click my link in the description, use code PokeBeard, you'll get $5 off your tickets. But all right, first question. This is from Ramirez. What do you think of the Gogh Pikachu? Do you think it will crash? So this card has actually surprised me quite a bit. Now, as you can see, this was a $1,200 PSA 10 card in September 2025. Went up to $2,400 and dropped all the way down to $1,341. And then it went all the way up to about $2,900 in March. And now we're kind of getting sales all over the place. $2,600, $2,300, $2,800, $32. So at its all-time high, basically. And this is the second most graded Pokemon card in Pokemon history, besides that Burger Chew, that McDonald's Pikachu card that just came out. There's 47,352 10s, 49,692 9s. There's even 5,200 8s. But when we're in a super, super popular time like this, pops don't really matter that much, especially when we're talking about one of the most, popular sought-after cards there is. So a pop of 47,000 in a 10, there's at least 50,000 people in the world that would love this card in a PSA 10. So, when the market is hot, you do not have to worry so much. But when the market does cool off, the high pop cards drop very, very fast. Because, if this card is worth $3,000, market cools off and now it's worth, $2,000 or like $1,700. People want to sell this before they lose thousands of dollars. And when there's so many of them, when you list them online, you want to be the cheapest so it sells the fastest. Because there's always a ton of these on eBay. At all times too, and if the market is truly crashing, there's going to be even more because people just want to sell it quick before it drops another, a few $100s or $500 or even $1,000. And we've seen this many, many times, during the big COVID boom. So many high pop cards just literally cut in half, some even 60, 70, 80%. It was actually wild. But this card is pretty special if you think about it. I really, really like the cards that are based off of historical arts, which there's actually a few of them that I think are completely slept on, like the Origin Form Palkia V, the actual alternate art, not the gold card. That art is a super famous art. So I think there's still some potential in some cards like that. But yeah, this is a crazy card. Like I said, it surprised me many, many times. But as you can see here, this is just a 1 year. It does go up and down a lot. Right away, it got up to $1,600, dropped all the way down to $221 in a PSA 10. Went out to $725, dropped down a little bit, like $650-ish. Yeah, it just kind of keeps going up and down, up and down. But I mean, this dropped from, $2,500 to $1,300. That dropped $1,000. And that can definitely happen again. So that's why I'm very paranoid when it comes to modern high pop PSA cards or any type of graded cards. I personally like the little bit of the older stuff, the stuff that has a lower pop, stuff that I know is like truly rare. That's what I prefer when we're talking about PSA cards. Especially at these prices, I am way too cheap for something like that. Next is from Stealthy Razor. Hi Beard, great vid as always. I recently got my Mega Gengar XY166 promo back from PSA with a grade of 9. I've been thinking about trading it for some sealed modern Pokemon Center ETBs, but I feel like the card is undervalued and doesn't get much attention. What do you think? Should I trade or hold? So this might be a decent time to get rid of it if you really think about it, because, we have a Mega Gengar right now that's bringing a lot of attention to this Mega Gengar. I've actually heard a lot of people talk about this card in the last couple months, more than ever before, just because we have the new hype of the new Mega Gengar. And this is now not the only Mega Gengar card we have. We have the newer one, which in my opinion is much, much better. And we did have a PSA 10 sale of 5,700. And then PSA 9 is selling for around 1,000. The pop is 120 at a 10, 351 at a 9. But I have a feeling if you did trade it into some Pokemon Center ETBs, you could potentially get a little bit more profit. You never know, though. This card could technically double. But I have a feeling this is at its top right now just because we have the hype of an actual Mega Gengar. So I'd probably trade it. Next is from Toxic Romeo. Hey Beard, question on the lower end Galarian Gallery. Many of them are amazing arts and also super affordable in PSA 10s, for example. The Metatcg GG13 is a $3 card and is only $80 in a 10. Or the Hisuian Samurai V-Star GG52, that's $9 raw and $60 in a 10. Let me know what your thoughts on buying the lower end of Crown Zenith. So there's a lot of random Pokemon in this set, and you have to remember the textured cards are much, much easier to grade than the non-textured cards. So if I were to buy any cards in a PSA 10 of this set, like this Lapras, no brainer. And I can almost guarantee it's tougher to get in a 10 than it is in a 9. Yep, 1,500 in a 10, 2,700 in a 9. So it's actually somewhat tough to grade, and it's selling for, I mean, we got sales from like 140 to 180. What else do we have? The two you brought up, Samurott. I mean, that card is pretty sick. I do wish it was just the regular one instead of the Hisuian one. But, I mean, I guarantee this one's a little bit easier to grade than the non-textured. 2,700 in a 10, 1,250 in a 9. But yeah, I feel like any cards that you like that are $40, $50, $60, $70 in a PSA 10, that's not a bad price. Especially if they are the non-textured ones and they're tougher to grade. Like this Ditto here, I think this card is super underrated in a 10 because there's only 717 in a 10, 1,400 in a 9. It is going up right now. I mentioned it quite a while ago. I think it even got down to like $100. Let me check the 1 year. Yeah, it was cheap. It was a $90 card. Even got down to $60 in June. But now last sold $299. So now it's not so undervalued. You know, the Latias, the Deoxys, you always want to try to go for a little bit more of the popular Pokemon. Then I also like to pick up cards of Pokemon that are a little bit more niche, but still have somewhat of a following, like this Miltank right here. It's a $12 raw card. We will probably not get another Miltank card for a while. So this is the best Miltank card we've ever gotten, and I love to collect stuff like that, especially, you know, it's non-textured like I said, and it is tough to grade, so those are no-brainers. But I think Crown Zenith definitely has some bangers in here still. Next is from MSQIR. Hey Beard, unfortunately my cat took a bite of my 151 UPC. I was thinking of trading mine plus cash for one in better condition. How much cash do you think would be appropriate to add on top? That sucks. Dang cat. So we have a couple sales here. Let's see here. Shipped well, small ding right corner. Rest looks good. Sold for $950. So right now with this market, I mean, depending on how bad the bite is, of course, if it just like looks really, really bad. But if it's just like a little tear, you really don't need to add that much cash on top. You can get pretty close to market just because the market is so crazy and people are looking for any type of discount. And I mean, there's probably some crazy people who are trying to open it too. But at this price, I'm guessing there's only a few now. But it really depends on how bad the damage is. If it looks like an actual bite, you know, you might have to add $50 or $100 now since this box is at $1,000. But luckily with the market being so crazy, you know, little dings and tears aren't a big deal right now. Next is from Ghost Melon. Hello, PokeBeard. What are your thoughts about going all in with the 25th anniversary cards and specifically the 25th Pikachu General Mills promo? I feel like that card is under the radar and looks too good to be a $4 to $7 card. Maybe it can go somewhere like 15 to 25, but what are your thoughts on it? Yeah, I'm actually a big fan of that Pikachu card. I really feel like pretty much all Pikachu cards do pretty good, but I think that one has some very solid potential. I really feel like a lot of the 25th anniversary stuff is still kind of underrated. For the Gold Star Umbreon to be as cheap as it is kind of mind-blowing. Next is from Charizard OSRS 8657. Hello, Wise Man PokeBeard. I traded a 151 ETB, Hidden Fates ETB, and a Paldean Fates ETB. Still have one left of each for one case of Ascended Heroes ETBs, first case ever. Good trade, investment, great content. Keep it coming, please. So since you do still have one left of each, I think I'm totally fine with this trade. The 151 ETB could maybe be a problem. That one you might regret possibly in the future. Even though I do think Ascended Heroes is 10 times better than 151, Hidden Fates, and Paldean Fates. And it really depends too on what you paid for these original ETBs. You know, if you got 151 at MSRP and Hidden Fates at a couple $100 and Paldean Fates at MSRP, you know, that's not bad if you're trading into a sealed ETB case of one of the best modern sets ever. But remember, Ascended Heroes is brand new, so we could easily get massive, massive reprints. And we probably will, and it will drop the price of these ETBs, so be prepared for that. But I think long term, I think, you know, that is a very solid trade, especially that you do have one left of each. It's good to get some variety. Next is from Rob Val. Hey Beard, crazy question here. I recently found 2 vintage sealed Japanese CD Pokemon sets. Not kidding, they're fully sealed in the CD case. I bought them for $60 each from a flea market. I don't know if I should hold them, sell them, or open them to try and grade the cards. The Charizard just sold on eBay for $5K and a 10. What would you do with them? So I would definitely watch a bunch of videos of people opening them up and, you know, seeing, you know, how it is when you open them and seeing how the cards actually look. If that does not look too bad, since you have 2, you can maybe just open one up, gamble on that. So that way you still have a sealed one. And, you know, I think long term, those could be very, very valuable also. I think you could probably open one. I'd probably look up a bunch of videos of people opening them up and kind of seeing what the cards look like and stuff and the condition. But yeah, if you're a gambling man, you got it for such a good price. You could open one up, get them graded, and then you still have one sealed. And I feel like that'd be a good thing to sit on, you know, long hold. But it really depends on if you need money or not. I don't know your exact situation. But yeah, good luck. Let me know. Next is from Chacho TO514. Hey Beard, as always, great content. Have a question regarding sealed products. I have 2 Ascended Heroes PC ETBs. Should I sell or trade one for 2 minty sealed Megazard UPCs? What do you think is better long term? Thanks. So that's a tough one, but I think I'd rather have the Ascended Heroes Pokemon Center ETBs. They're just really the only somewhat exclusive thing we even get in English Pokemon for sealed products, if you really think about it. And there's a ton of those Mega Charizard UPCs. I think they're going to do good. And then you got to think about it like this. You can compare it to the Charizard UPC from Sword and Shield, which is sitting around $500 now. So if you have 2 of them, you know, it's around $1,000. But I could easily see the Ascended Heroes Pokemon Center ETB being worth more than $1,000. Just look at the 151 Pokemon Center ETB now. And I know it's 151. It's got the nostalgia. It brought so many people back. But I could easily see Ascended Heroes getting somewhat close to that someday, eventually. Next is from Griff Nasty. Hey Beard, Saturday morning I pulled the Gold Zygarde out of Perfect Order. I was at the show in Schaumburg and ended up trading it for a Brilliant Stars ETB. Thoughts on the trade? Thanks, and it was nice to see you and the big Umbreon and SBN out my way. That was actually a super good show. I mean, that Saturday was just crazy. And I was actually sitting next to Mikasa from Attack on Titan. I forgot her real name. And she was so nice because I gave a little kid a free Espeon statue. And she came over and she said, come get pictures and autographs for free. And it was seriously amazing. I love that show. But I think that is a very solid trade. Sealed products, you know, long term are going to do better than like 95% of all the cards. Especially Zygarde, not the most popular Pokemon. And the set is so small, even though the cards are really tough to pull. You know, with it being a smaller set, it's not that tough. So I think you did very, very solid there. And I really feel like the Brilliant Stars ETBs are still undervalued. Next is from James Reen. Beard, got a question. I'm looking to really get a Killer Zard. What do you think would be best investment of these? Shining, Shadowless, can't afford first edition, so out of the question, or Legendary. I'd like to get something PSA 5 on a budget. So, me personally, I like the Shadowless. I still feel like Shadowless is ridiculously underrated. And a lot of Shadowless stuff, you know, was printed even less than some of the first edition stuff. You know, a lot of Shadowless PSA pops are lower than the first edition counterparts. And then I probably have to go Legendary Collection just because, again, you know, those cards are actually hard to get. Legendary Collection is a very, very big set, and you're only guaranteed 1 reverse holo per pack. So that is a crazy card. I mean, all 3 are super, super good. You might just want to go off of what art you like the best. But for me, I still feel like Shadowless is slept on. I think it even looks cleaner than a first edition. Like my OCD just loves it. But all right, next question is from Nessa Stretches. If you sent some of your modern cards to PSA and didn't get a 10, maybe like 8s or 9s, would you crack them to sell them or keep them in the slab? Yeah, if they're modern cards, you can definitely just crack them, especially if they're 8s. You know, and you're trying to sell them, you can sell a raw card way easier than a PSA 9 modern card or PSA 8 especially. It just sucks because then you kind of just wasted money. But again, if it's a card you think has potential to get a 10, you can always resend it back in, and you could possibly do that. But again, that costs even more money. All right, next is from Nick Rose. Repeat question. I recently traded a 151 PC ETB for an Ascended ETB case. Thoughts? So that's kind of a tough one because we're talking a Pokemon Center ETB in 151. Basically the most expensive modern product there is right now. And I do have a feeling it's just going to keep getting crazier and crazier. But there's so many ETBs in a case. That's really, really tough. It really depends on how many you have too. Let's say you had a few of them already, and this is not your only one. If this was your only one, I maybe would not have made that trade. Just because, like I said, you could still maybe find Ascended Heroes ETBs in Walmart. And I mean, I know it's nice getting a case, but a case doesn't add that much premium to it to where you could still possibly get, a bunch of these for pretty cheap. Because you could technically get these for the next couple of years and 151's about to go out of print. So that one's really tough. I wish I had more information. Next is from Shannon Glisson. How do you find trustworthy people on reselling apps? I'm trying to buy steel product. I've been burned a few times already. I would really love a case, but it's so hard to find trustworthy people. The amount of people that I see getting scammed on like Facebook is wild. And Instagram and stuff. I don't know why everybody just doesn't use eBay. I've been using eBay my entire life. eBay almost always sides with the buyer. They kind of screw over the sellers. And as long as you buy from someone with a good rating that has a lot of sales, you almost never have to worry. Because when you're a big eBay seller, that feedback is everything to you. Especially if you have 100%, you do not want to lose that 100%. I know people that just lose their minds when they get one bad review. Because that's their entire life, that's their business. So if you want a sealed case, check them out on eBay, find good sellers. You can even follow the sellers on eBay. So that way, you get a good list of like 5 or 10 really good sellers that you never have to worry about. So that's definitely what I would do. I feel like people are scared to use eBay, so they use Facebook Marketplace, but I think that's so much sketchier. You got to like send them money first before they send it. It's just a hassle. Definitely try eBay. Next is from Eddie B. Hey Beard, love your takes and videos. If you had to bet on 5 to 10 Pokemon that aren't super popular right now, but will be in the future, which ones would you pick? So that is a super tough one. Let me know down below what you guys think. So I do have a couple hot takes. I do think Mew could become the most popular Pokemon in all of Pokemon history. I just really feel like it's adorable. It's so powerful. I mean, all Pokemon come from Mew. Mew can learn every type of move. I just feel like Mew, now that it's getting some love, of course, even on the 151 UPC, and we got the Bubble Mew, but I still feel like Mew could be even more popular. And then I also feel like Arceus does not get enough love. I mean, that still blows my mind. Literally god of all the Pokemon, and it's just like a mid-tier Pokemon for a lot of people. What else? If we're talking like by Generation 9, Ceruledge, I feel like that Pokemon has a ton of potential. Take a ton, stuff like that. You can kind of go through and pick out, your top 5 favorite Pokemon from each generation. And I'm sure one of them from each gen is going to pop off. Kind of like what Mimikyu is doing. Mimikyu is a Generation 7 Pokemon. That's a very new Pokemon. And Mimikyu's probably up in like the top 10, top 15 of like the most popular Pokemon in the world right now. So, it's definitely possible for a Pokemon to pop off. Just got to give it a little bit of time. What else? I really feel like Ninetales does not get enough love. I think that's like the most beautiful Pokemon in all of Pokemon. And then, of course, Suicune and Dragonair need to be, top 1, top 2 for everybody. But I may be a little biased on that one. But yeah, that's a super tough question. I was thinking about it the last couple days, but, maybe give me a little bit more time. Ask me again in a couple months, and I'll have a whole list for you. Next is from T. Pokey Polls. It would be great to hear your breakdown and opinion on the 4 big grading companies, PSA, CGC, BGS, and TAG. I've mostly used PSA, but I'm a fan of CGC and TAG slabs. Just don't know how well they move. So I've actually talked about this a few times, so I'll go through this real quick. PSA, they've been around the longest, and they're definitely the biggest, but that means they also have the most problems. We got stuff happening with PSA every month, but they are definitely the easiest to move. No one can debate that, and they grade way more cards than all the other grading card companies combined. CGC, they're kind of newer with cards. They've been around a very long time with comic books. I have a ton of CGC graded comic books. Big fan of CGC also. A good thing about CGC is they do have pristine 10s. So those actually do outsell PSA 10s. Of course, they're going to be tougher to get. If you get the regular CGC 10, it definitely sells less than a PSA 10. But again, CGC also has problems. They've, graded a ton of fake cards. Then we have BGS. I'm a big fan of BGS. I think their slabs look really, really nice. I do think they need to update their whole system and how you actually, do a submission and maybe even update their slabs a little bit. But they have the black label, which is the most expensive graded card you can even get. So if your card is truly perfect, like I am talking perfect, you send it to Beckett. But now the parent company that owns PSA also owns Beckett, so people are a little bit worried about that, and they're kind of worried like they're not going to be as strict, but we got to wait and see. Then of course Tag. Tag I think has some of the cleanest looking slabs, and they also do have a pristine 2, which is very, very tough to get. And a regular Tag 10 does sell for around the same as a PSA 10. It's going to take you a lot longer to sell it, of course, because there's not as many people that collect it, because it's the newest company out of all of these. And, they've been talking about getting like these pods where you can grade your card yourself in just a couple minutes. If they do come out with that, Tag could definitely shake up this hobby. But I am also working on getting a CGC affiliate, and I'm still waiting to hear back from BGS, because I'd love to have all 4, so that way everybody has an option and they can choose whatever they want. But just a quick recap, PSA is definitely the easiest to sell. If your card is absolutely perfect, definitely try a black label, because the prices are insane, like 10, 20, 30x a PSA 10. Like, it's just mind-blowing. And then Tag, they're just such clean slabs. They look really nice for your personal collection. And then CGC 2, you can always chase that pristine 10, which is going to be way easier to get than an actual black label, for sure. So you definitely have options. Next is from Southern Jedi. If card shows are not an option, where would you go to buy bulk online, specifically vintage era? Definitely eBay, especially if you're trying to do a master set. Almost every single vintage set, you can go on eBay and you can buy the common and uncommon and non-holo rare complete set. So that way you can just buy that right away and then work on the holos. But yeah, eBay is the best spot to buy bulk. If you don't need that many cards, you can check on TCG Player and just get them individually. Might be kind of cheaper, but depends on how many cards you need and what you need. But my favorite thing too is buying big lots on eBay to be like, oh, I need 5 cards from this lot for this set. I need a few cards from this lot from this set. And you do that, and then you sell the rest or trade the rest. And then that way you're getting cards a lot cheaper. Because usually when you buy a big lot on eBay, you can kind of get it cheaper than what, the actual price of the entire collection is. All right, and last question is from Aaron Torres, the Bearded Dragonair. When you vend at tables, are you worried about counterfeit cash with larger costs? So I actually have thought about that a decent amount, and I even watched a YouTube video on, what to look for the fakes and, the marker and everything. I got all that. So definitely be careful, because I know a lot of people, that doesn't even cross their mind, especially if you're not recording. There's so many people that are recording now at these card shows to where if someone's going to try to scam you, they're going to go to the tables without cameras. Like, those are going to be the first ones they hit up, even though a lot of them are dumb enough to go to the ones with cameras too. But you got to think, for every one video that we see of someone stealing in front of a camera, there's probably, 20 people that stole not in front of the camera. So definitely be paranoid. It's only just going to help, and it's just going to make it more safe, so you don't have to worry as much. But all right, that was this week's Pokemon What If Wednesday. If you guys like this content, please make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a like and comment. And I am doing a big giveaway for a Mega Charizard X UPC this week. So go to my Instagram or my last Market Monday, and I explain how to enter that giveaway. And then, of course, if you guys want to support more, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube membership, all that, you guys know what to do. You guys are the absolute best. But all right, I want you guys to have a great day. And like I said, go check out that Market Monday so you guys can be entered into that giveaway. We'll see you next time.